Okay, so I bought this guitar, and apparently some kids painted some green on it, and it was probably used in a prop for some show. But it's a Dean, a certain model. It's got 24 frets, two double humbuckers, and what I did was I was going to paint it, but the weather here doesn't allow me to paint it, and I'm not going to paint in the house and breathe the paint. So I decided that I'd wrap it with vinyl, and I got it prepped. What I did was I sanded it down. And the reason I had to sand it down, I wasn't able to get the green paint off because I accidentally put too much heat on it and it bonded to the surface of the original black paint. And what I ended up doing was sanding it and get a smooth finish so I can wrap it with some vinyl. Well, I couldn't afford to buy the vinyl and all the things I needed, so I looked in the cupboard and we had some contact paper, which you use for shelving and whatnot. And it's wood grain. I got a couple wood grain rolls, and I've got a roll of like a matte white, which I probably won't use, but I decided I'm going to go with the wood grain, and I'm going to lay that out, and I'm going to try to wrap with contact paper. So we'll see what happens with that. It's probably not that good because most people will use something less tacky than this, and a little better vinyl, but it's all I can afford, and wood grain the guitar up a little bit. Let's see what happens. Let's see what I can do. I mean, after all, I've got nothing anyway, but I need to get my money back on this guitar. I put $45 into it already, and that doesn't count any electronics yet or anything it might need. So let's take a look and see what I can do. All right, what I did was follow directions of what somebody had on the internet. I laid the guitar down on the table on top of the vinyl on the back of this vinyl. It's Peel and Stick. It's probably not a brand name. But anyway, I outlined it a little bit, about an inch away from it. And when I got done, I flipped it over and put it on it. And the wood grain areas that I liked weren't on it. They would actually fall outside of it. So what I did was the same size, I merely flipped it over. That way I'd have these little bird's eye knot holes on the guitar when I get done. So I flipped it over, and I'll just have to work with it that way. The only thing I'm worried about is I have this deep contour here, and I'll have to get that in right. I have the two main holes there, for the bridge piece, and I have to make sure that's right on. But I'm worried most about that contour, about getting it down in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start wrapping it. I'm going to pull the adhesive off, as they say to do, and I'll start it up down here at the base, at the heel of the guitar, I call it. And that way I'll have this bird's eye on it. Now the wood grain showing, it'll look better. So I went about it that way, and it'll have more accents, but it'll still fit because it's a sheet that I cut out the right size. We'll see how that works. Laid the guitar down, decided to do the front first. So I unrolled the vinyl, as you see in other videos, over the body, and it gave it a nice textured look. Got the holes for the pots on there, and tried to get it around the pickup holes and so forth. So now what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to clip it right here at the body line a little bit, where it goes down the contour, and I'm going to clip it. I'm going to try to bend it around the corners, top and bottom, and I'm going to bend it into place by using a hairdryer. Let's see how that works. That way I can get it as far down as I can and around the corner as much as I can, so that when I put the bottom on, it'll embrace it a little better. So here's the back of the guitar, and I applied the contact paper. It was real tough going around the edges here. They wrinkled up and crinkled up, and I tried heating it, and I probably end up heating it again. And I opened up the cavity there. I still have these neck holes to open up, and that's about it for the back. But on the sides I got a mess. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trim it real fine on the edges here and get it laid out so that's just a very small edge on there. It's hard to see anything because of the wood grain style. Hard to see bumps and wrinkles, but I'm going to cover them up. And I'm going to get this edging. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it with a straight edge on a piece of wood and cut it. And I need to cut it the thickness of this. I want it to overlap just a little bit on the edging so that I can get a nice edge around it, because it seems to blend in real well when you put one piece against the other. A lot of these little indents were tough to do. Open up those holes. I didn't open up the potholes, and I didn't open up the string holes yet. I'm going to do that with a little X-Acto knife. But all in all, it looks like a real wood guitar. I'll get that edging done. I'm not telling you it's easy. It's not an easy job. Although the looks like the end result is good, but it's not an easy job. It's very hard. This is the third day on it. Been toiling away on it, trying to get it right. Got a lot of sticking up edges, and I'll cut them off with the razor, make a fine little edge on it around the corner. Then I'll put this on it and I'll seal it down. But what I'm seeing I have to do is I have to cut that precisely to go around all the edges, and I can't mess up, because once you tape it down a little bit, you can't cut it because it doesn't come up easy. It'll pull up the other part too. So what you have to do is you have to cut it very precise with the backing paper on it and get it so it's wide enough and narrow enough. And you got to fit it. I think I'm going to start around here somewhere and work my way back around all the way to the other edge again, and ending up here and get it sealed up real quick. And quick is not the word with this. It probably would have taken less time to actually get a piece of wood and route it to do this. It's a long process. It looks good right now. I'm hoping that the edge binding will fit and make it work once I get it right. But do I recommend it? Yeah, I mean, if you want to, if you got some contact paper laying around and you want to do this, go ahead. But is it going to be an easy job? No, it's not. It's going to be a tough job. And I bought these gloves. I have gloves here that I use. Let's see if I got them. I bought these at a Dollar Tree, and they have little pullers on. I see another guy wearing them. It's pretty good for pulling the edges around when you got a hairdryer or a heat gun on it, because you don't want to put your fingers into that. And they do the job, and it works out pretty well. But there's certain things I got at the dollar store which I'd like to recommend, since this is a cheap project. There's a little squeegee. It's got a rubber edge. It kind of sticks to the vinyl a little bit. Now, this isn't normal vinyl. This is contact paper. So you have to keep that in mind, that I'm using regular store-bought contact paper that you put on shelves and so forth. It's a little thicker. It doesn't go around the edges like good vinyl would do it. It leaves a little problems that you got to deal with. And it really does have a wood look, though. I mean, that looks like an oak guitar. It really does. But we'll see when I've finished how it looks, and I'll keep you in touch on this. Let's just take a minute to look at the pros and cons of doing this. This is contact paper, which is made for covering shelves. So it's made for straight lines and flat areas. Like you can see, this worked out real well. And the main problem with it is this. When you get to these corners, it bunches up. Now, I'm sure there's ways to cut it and so forth to get it, but I had a very limited amount. This was a used sheet that I used. It was lacking length that I needed to do a lot more. So I had to deal with just short pieces. I didn't have pulling pieces. I don't know what the resiliency of this is to stretch it. So I wound up with these corners. And I know I can trim them and so forth, but the band I made is only wide enough to go from point A to point B. It has to be able to overlap it in order to show consistency and make it look like it's all wood. A lot of people will trim it and they'll cut it right on the edge, but I need it to overlap because I need the wood grain to run into wood grain. And let's see, I'm going to make the seam right here. Probably right here in the middle of the neck, because I noticed that the binding on a lot of the silver tones that were made in the 60s for Sears by Danelectro. They had a white binding around the edge, and they had a seam right there, and it would bring it around and do it that way. Now I'm going to put heat on this to put it on, and there's many things I should have, could have, would have, but this is primarily just a cheap way around things. So I know what's good about it is that here's the pro of it, that when painting season comes around again, you could take all this vinyl off with a hairdryer, and then just wipe it down with some rubbing alcohol and clean off the glue, and sand it the way you want, paint it, prime it up, paint it real well. So it's pretty much a temporary covering. But I'm going to apply the edging. I'm going to see if I can bring these lumps down a little bit because they're kind of high, and when you put something over them, it kind of doubles their height. But this vinyl is not the type of vinyl that they use for wrapping. This is merely shelf paper. So it's got its flaws. And I'd like to see somebody make some good wood grain covering for vinyl that you could use on guitars and cars and so forth, because it really looks like nice wood. And we really like to go with that. But I'm going to finish the edging. I'm going to clean this real good with rubbing alcohol in order to get some adherence. And I'm going to use a hairdryer as I go along and try to bring this down. I know that there's ways to trim this. If you cut it on a certain angle, you'll get it. But whenever you get this corners like that, it bunches up. And there's a lot you can do. You can push it with your fingernail and cut into it. A few times I pushed on it and got worse results than I already had. So we're going to hope the hairdryer brings it down quite a bit. But I'm going to push them down. I already went around it with a hairdryer and pushed these corners as good as I can. And I'm really disappointed in what I came up with. But this is a kind of a temporary fix. So I'm going to finish it, and I'll give you a look and see at what it is. And assemble the guitar and get it out of here, because I need the room and I need the time and I need to get this over with. Okay, the body's been trimmed a little bit. It's I still got to poke the holes a little better, clean them out with X-Acto. I got the holes ready for the other parts, the strap holder and stuff. But it's mediocre at best. But it really looks the part. It looks like a wooden guitar. It's ready for the hardware to be installed. It's in front of it. Here's the strings go in here and the body through. And then on the back, it's body through as well. Everything's ready for the installation of the hardware, the wiring, the neck. And when I get it done, I'll show you. But this is a view you'd have from the driver's seat if you were playing it. And see, yeah, it looks like it has air bubbles, but it doesn't. This is just the wood grain gives it a different look, and it's got a lot of flaws in it. But they have to be acceptable, because there's nothing I can do about it. Heat it up with the heat gun, and from a distance, this is like the distance you'd have would be a couple feet. It's very acceptable. So I'll show it to you as soon as I finish putting the hardware back on. It looks like a little frowny face on that guitar. Anyway, this is the Woody guitar that I put on the contact paper on. I put some of the hardware back on it. I went out and bought some knobs, and they makes it look a lot better. I put those inserts back in for the strings to come through. Put them little eyelets for the bridge in. I replaced the pickup with a supposedly a PRS pickup, and put the tail piece on there for the strap, and I put one up there, and I cut all that excess contact paper off of it, and I got me a shiny PRS pickup, brand new, And that one, I just have to do the soldering, put this stuff back in. I lost that nut for the switch there. It was a black one, so I looked at some lamp parts and I found me a nut. Got tone and volume. Those are brand new knobs. I picked them up at Guitar Center, and I got some strings for it, some regular slinkies. And I gotta finish up cleaning up that neck, and then I gotta solder the controls back in, just solder the pickups back in. I was gonna go and update all the electronics, but I just said, well, I can't put too much money into it. I got about $65 into it now. Let's make that into a smiley face by putting strings on it and setting it up, and I got to put the new neck on it. Well, it's not a new neck, it's the old neck, but I got to do a little restoration on it. And this here's the neck. It's a Dean. It's got a beautiful neck. It's 24 frets. What happened was it had a little bit of a right here in the first fret. It had a little gash in it. I filled it in with epoxy and cleaned it up. And I'm just going to run a razor blade over it, make it smoother. And it's got stainless steel frets, which are really nice. And it's a little discolored here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's got some discoloration right here. Look at that. Look at that. It really shows it there. And it's beat up a little bit. But I'm going to take some Old English furniture restorer with a Q-tip, and I'm going to clean that up a little bit. A lot of people say those little gashes are from people with fingernails trying to play it. So it might have been a gal's guitar, a little gal with big long fingernails. But I'll clean it up. It's not enough to hurt anything. So I'll put that on there and get it playing today. All right, just finished this guitar. Looks like real wood. I put a chrome pickup in it, which is supposed to be from a PRS guitar. And that one's hot. I wanted to put active electronics in it, but it wasn't cost efficient, and I don't know what I'll get out of this, but not much. This is a 24 fret guitar from Dean, originally called the Vendetta. It has stainless steel frets and 24 of them to top it off. It's got a real nice sound. I should play it for you. It's got a single switch. I had to purchase a couple of Fender knobs to put on it, and it looks real good. I've got the hardware in there. Let me flip it over and show you. Here's the back side of it. Here's the sides of it, just to give you an idea. It's scalloped right there. It's got a little bit of a indent, and everything fit together real well. Even the wood where the neck matches up, it kind of matches up. It's surprisingly, considering this is just contact paper. There's a nice neck. I kept the machine heads and cleaned them up, tightened up everything. Put the plate on it. I cut around here closely and just to make sure it would settle down in it. And it settled down just right. The neck, I did a setup on it. I might have to check it again because it's been a day. I set it up. I set the pickup height to between 2.5 and 3 millimeters, which really worked out because when you flip the switch, you notice the difference. I took off the other double humbucker and replaced it with this PRS one. And to find out the PRS one's pretty hot. It's almost as hot as this one, but by its placement and the reduction in height to the strings, it gives it a good rhythm sound. There's the Dean trademark. Now, underneath this plate for the tension bar, it had, if you flip it over, it says Vendetta. So this is obviously a Vendetta guitar, but the neck's in good shape. And it looks real good. It plays, it's kind of wide. It's got wide fretwork, so it's easy to play. And it's got a real nice sound. I'll have to show you how it sounds. But it's a pretty nice guitar. I came out real good with the wood look. I'll zoom in on that and show you. There's a nice set of wood looking guitar. And I put some regular strings on there. These are regular Slinkies. And it came out good. And everything's nice, but it's set up. The bridge is set up. Everything's set up fine. And like I said, I did adjust the neck a little because it was straight as an arrow, and I want a little bit of relief. So I put it in there, and it might have gained a little more since then. So I'll readjust it. I'll check it. If it needs any adjustment, I'll do that. But yeah, it sounds good. I'm going to give you a little demonstration of what it sounds like. Hopefully I'll get a few bucks for it. But yeah, it came out real good with contact paper. And it's way more surprising than I thought it would be. It really looks good. Somebody's coming by to buy the guitar. It came out real good, except right here and right here, it sort of has it peels a little bit on the edging, and I believe that's because of the kerf. I believe it's spelled K-E-R-F or something to that degree. And a lot of people don't realize what that is. What that means is this came off of a roll, like paper would do. And the roll was on the outside. It was rolled the outside. And this is the opposite of the roll. So it keeps trying to attract its original form and curve that way when I'm asking it to curve this way. So once in a while you have to seal it down a little bit here. But it came out pretty good. I'm going to plug it in. I'm going to try a few notes on it and let it go, but it's very light. It came out. It's a very beautiful guitar. It's really nice. It's a nice Dean guitar. There's the head of it, and I don't know about the light in here, but it's a nice guitar. You can see from the back. I put a little first act strap on here to play it. I'm going to give him a leather strap with it. It came with it when I bought it, and it's really nice. It's a nice guitar. Let's get back to that in a second. Alright, let's try it out on the amp. It's plugged in and ready. Let's see what it sounds like.